I've heard in previous interviews you've done, you've talked about how impactful Stan was for you early in your career. I was just wondering, what ways did he help you specifically when you were just getting started in the NBA?
He taught me about professionalism, how important attention to detail was, how important preparation was. He reinforced a lot of the things that I was learning and thought that I knew, but he reinforced them in a way that set me up for a long career. And without having played for him in years 2 through 6, those 5 years, I would not still be playing and have had the career that I've had without Stan.
Hey, JJ, this is Fletcher Mackel from NBC here in New Orleans. I was just going to ask you, David Griffin said that every move the franchise made this offseason was about grit and toughness. How do you get more grit and toughness without bringing in tough guys? Is it a mindset? Is it a coach? Is it practice habits? Just how do you get tougher and have more grit?
That's a great question for Stan, because I know he's a big fan of that book. I've probably read it multiple times. You have to bring in the right people, and that's not to say the people here before didn't have grit or weren't tough. It has to be a collective mindset. I think Stan does as good a job as anybody in teaching how to be tough, in showing how to be tough. Example of that, and just in terms of the grind and the mental toughness of the season, I played for Stan for 5 years. I'm not saying that he would never blame us, because there was definitely some blame placed on our shoulders, but Stan was the type of coach. Stan is the type of coach who's going to look in the mirror first. He's going to assess things that he did right, assess things that he did wrong. He's always going to sort of point the finger at himself first. That's mental toughness, and that gets passed down and carried on in the locker room from him to guys like me, Steven Adams, Eric Bledsoe. Then it goes down to the young guys. So that accountability, that's part of mental toughness, and that's something that we all have to learn periodically throughout our lives, and Stan will be great with that.
What's up, JJ? This is Will Guillory with The Athletic. You talked a bunch about why you think Stan Van Gundy is a good coach and he's been so impactful throughout your career, but why do you think he's a good fit for this team in particular? And on top of that, I feel like it would be weird if we didn't ask about the mustache, man. So is it here to stay? Is this just a training camp thing? What's going on with that?
So the reason I think Stan's such a great fit for our team is because he is what our team needs. We need a teacher. We need someone who is going to put us all in positions to succeed. We need someone who's going to hold us accountable. We need someone who's going to mentally and physically, mentally and verbally motivate us. I think he carries a level of respect with him on the court, in the locker room, in the media, that we need as a group. In regards to the mustache, it's a few factors going on here. First and foremost, I'm here solo. So my family is in New York. They stayed in New York. My wife doesn't let me grow a mustache, so this seems like a perfect time to have a mustache. Number two, just want to provide some like emotional support for Stan here in his first couple weeks on the job. So this is an homage to him. And then three, the original motivation behind the mustache was I got really into all the Mission Impossible movies over the last couple months, and would just turn them on after a couple glasses of wine. And what I noticed in the final one is that Henry Cavill's character has a phenomenal mustache beard combo. So I figured I'd give my mustache a little bit of a head start here on the season, and then hopefully this beard will kind of come in. But we're going to trim the beard and let the mustache go for a little bit.
Hey, JJ, Rod Walker here with the Times-Picayune. The other day we talked to Zion, and he talked about in year 2 he wanted to sort of just live in the moment. But what advice would you give a guy like that going into his second year wanting to make that jump? What
advice would I give to Zion? I would just probably give Zion some advice. Why would I give advice through the media? No, he'll listen. Zion's going to figure it out. I think the biggest thing for him is just his health and being in great shape, and he looks great so far.
Hey, JJ, Christian Clark again. The end of last season was played obviously under the protection of a bubble. Just how are you mentally preparing, to go through 72 games with full travel and all that, just from a health perspective?
Yeah. My first thought on that is just hoping that we can have a season without too many disruptions. I mean, we've all seen baseball and football play out their seasons with essentially the same sort of model we're using, the non-bubble model, where we're getting tested every day, but there's outside factors that are coming into our lives on a daily basis. We're not as protected as we were in Orlando. So your first thought is just hoping that we can finish a 72 game season in a timely fashion, and that everyone's safe. Having lived, through the lockout season where we played a really condensed schedule starting on Christmas, 66 games. I think our regular season finish date was actually sooner than it will be this season. I think it was around May 1st, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember the exact date. And in that season, we had back-to-backs. We had a bunch of 4 and 5 nights. It really became about the importance of rest and recovery. And this season is going to be very similar. I think the teams that can stay healthy, and I know, I think it was Luka Doncic or somebody like that said it, who's going to have the biggest advantage. It's the teams that don't get COVID. The teams that really can sort of keep this virus out of their locker room and out of the building. It's scary, but that's just reality. And then the teams that really take advantage of the rest and recovery aspect, because it is a condensed season.
Hey, JJ, Caroline Gonzalez here with the Pelicans. 2 questions for you. First one, how is Josh Hart as a roommate / landlord?
Yeah, I'm not paying him rent. I'm not paying him rent yet. It's been great. I'm very fortunate that I've had good friends on this team. Drew let me crash at his place this summer when we were getting ready for the bubble, and Josh and Shannon have been nice enough to let me sleep in their guest room until I find a place of my own. I'm going to see a place today, so hopefully by the end of the weekend, I won't be their roommate anymore. But it's been nice. I mean, Josh has a chef. He's living first class. Lunches and dinners are paid for. I'm sure I'll figure out a way to get him a nice bottle of Chateau Latour or something like that, one of his favorite Bordeaux's, to repay him.
Second question, as a veteran, you've been in this league long enough to know how much off-court chemistry builds to on-court chemistry. With you guys not being able to practice together as a team until Sunday, and just 9 games before your preseason game, how worried are you with on-court chemistry?
Yeah, it's a great question. One thing I'll say to that, just in specifically in regards to our team, I just think we have great guys in our team. I think this group will come together quickly. I think our training camp with Stan will force us to come together quickly. But I do worry about that because, we play a game in 10 days. And we've been away for a long time. We haven't been together as a group. So it's going to have to happen quick, and hopefully it will.
JJ, it's Scott Kushner from the Times-Picayune. First of all, I have a house on the market if you're interested. And secondly, you've faced Steven Adams for a really long time. You've been through some wars with him on the court. How much do you look forward to coming off those screens? How much does he add as far as not just, a toughness perspective, but also just from a straight up basketball, perspective? Yeah.
I'm looking forward to him screening for me and not screening me. He's a big body, and somebody that I've had some battles against. My teams have had battles against. So I'm looking forward to playing with him and being his teammate. I've heard unbelievable things about him as a person and as a teammate. So I'm looking forward to that. From a basketball perspective, he provides rebounding, defense. He's a vocal guy. I think for us, he's a vertical spacer because he's such a good lob threat and rim runner. And I know in the traditional sense of spacing with him and Zion, there's some question marks there, but to get that 5-man rolling to the rim and as a lob threat, I think provides a level of space that maybe we didn't have as much last year. And let me just say one other thing. And I know I did talk about this in my podcast, like we're going to miss all the guys that we had on our team last year. For me personally, and I've told people this privately, last year's group was one of the best groups I've ever played with in my career. It was just a bunch of Class A great individuals, and we'll miss K Rich and Frank and Ja and Drew and D Fave, and I'm sure I'm forgetting someone else, but we just had a great group last year, so we'll miss all those guys and everything they provided for our team last year.
Hello, JJ. My name is Christos. I'm from Greece. I would like to ask you what impressed you most about Brandon Ingram and Zion Williamson progress about last season, and what are your expectations about next season?
What impressed me the most about Zion last season?
Zion and Brandon.
And Brandon. Okay, sorry. So Zion has an amazing ability to get his own rebound. I think that was probably the most impressive thing. His second jump is quicker than everyone else's, and at 15 or 17 feet when he catches the ball, and his ability to get sort of in one movement from that area to the rim with as much speed and force as anyone that I've ever seen. I think those are the two most impressive things with him. With Brandon, it's just the maturation of his game, and you saw it throughout the season, just stepping up and becoming a go-to player. I tell him this all the time, but I think he's a guy who eventually will average 8 or 9 rebounds a game and 8 or 9 assists a game and be a triple-double threat every night. He has such an innate desire to be great, and he works to be great. He doesn't just say he wants to be great, but he works to be great. He's got such a bright future, and he definitely deserves the bag that he just got.
And also about Stan Van Gundy. You collaborate with him and you had a great connection with him during your Orlando Magic season, 2009-2010. Do you see any similarities between the Orlando Magic of that season and your New Orleans Pelicans of this season?
Well, that team was constructed largely around Dwight Howard, who was a center, and we had 4 shooters on the floor with him at all times. So from a roster perspective, not really, to be honest with you. But I definitely see the similarities in the sense that that Orlando Magic team was ready to make a jump in terms of, becoming a top tier Eastern Conference team. And we did that with Stan. And I think this Pelicans team is ready to make a jump, whether it's this year or the following season. The Pelicans are a team on the rise, and I think Stan's the right coach to take them to that next level.
Hey, JJ, this is Shamit Dua from Bourbon Street Shots. Two-part question. Last year, you mentioned Alvin Gentry's offense as being free-flowing. What can we expect from Stan Van Gundy on that end, more on from a schematic standpoint? And then on the other side of the court, what can we expect from Stan Van Gundy on the defensive standpoint in terms of his preparation with you guys and any things he prefers to do on the court?
Again, this is probably speculation on my part because we haven't had a practice yet. So I can't really speak to any X's and O's about, expectations of what we're going to do on either side of the basketball. I will say that, in brief discussions with Stan over the last month, I probably had 4 or 5 with him about X's and O's. I would expect, offensively for us to have a little more structure than we had previously. And I think that will benefit guys like Zion. He'll be able to play, with the ball a little bit more. There were times last year where, he would kind of float out there and then all of a sudden get 8 points in a minute. We want him to be as involved as possible and in as many actions as possible. Defensively, I think we'll be one of the better defensive teams for the simple fact that we'll have great discipline. We'll have great rules. we'll drill the shit out of everything. And you can tell I'm super excited about it. Can't wait for training camp. I had like, seriously, how did I end up with this in year 15? I do this shit all over again in the stand. Oh man. All right. No, we'll be great.
You're going to be the last question, guys.
I think we'll be great. We'll be great on that side of the ball. I really do. Because we also have the personnel. I think, as you saw last year with Lonzo, he's such a disruptive defender, and Eric was on the #1 defense in the league last season. So having those two guys at the point of attack will be huge. Having Steven Adams just as a body back there. We were really good at times with D-Fave on the court at the 5, and I think with the personnel we have and with Stan, I think we'll be a much better defensive team.
What's up, JJ? This is Will again from The Athletic, and you're heading into the last year of your deal, and you've talked openly before about how it's hard to not think about what the finish line looks like for your career, and a big part of that is just how much you still want to play the game. So, looking forward, how much basketball do you think you still have left in you, and how long do you think you still want to play the game?
I'm trying to make a conscious effort to be in the moment. And so, to answer your question, I want to play as long as possible. I'd love to play, 4 more years, including this year. And I'd love to get to, what was that, year 18. That'd be awesome. But in reality, you get to this stage of your career and there's other factors that are involved. And so, my mindset going to the season is just to embrace this season. And I'll worry about a potential of year 16 in the summer. I'm not focused on that. I recognize that I'm much closer to the finish line than I was 4 or 5 years ago. And so I've got to just enjoy every day and every moment. And whether that's, on the court, in the locker room, in the training room, giving Aaron Nelson shit, like I'm just going to enjoy the day.